Welcome, everyone. We're just waiting for a few more attendees to get in and get their chairs. We'll be with you shortly. Again, just want to welcome everyone as you're getting into the room. We're just going to wait for a few more to come in. I see them joining now, and we'll get started. All right. All right, let's go ahead and begin. Good morning, afternoon, evening to those of you who are attending our webinar today, Safeguarding Your Data and Defying Cyber Attacks. Learn the strategies to protect your firm's future. First, what we want to do is just share with you a confidentiality disclaimer. We are going to be presenting aspects of our applications and our company that you are certainly free to share with others in your organization. Simply do not forward any of the information outside of your organization. Thank you. With that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Sherry Capel. I am an evangelist here at Latera, and I have the privilege of working with our customers, telling them about our applications, how to get there, how to transition to them. And equally, I'm privileged to join so many colleagues across Latera, experts such as the fine Tina, who is sitting next to me here, going to be presenting today. And so Tina, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Tina Harkins. I'm the Director of Product Management for the governance portfolio for Latera.
Wonderful. And Tina, you're going to be the subject matter expert in our session today. So with that, here is our agenda. We're going to briefly go through some housekeeping rules. We're going to then focus on common challenges that law firms face across multiple collaboration systems. We're going to talk about the current state of data security based on not only a survey, but also a report that we at Latera have assembled. We're eager to share all of that with you. And then how our CAM product can help you. We do have a questions and answer segment. In fact, there are several pre-submitted questions for us, Tina, so we should get ready for those. But in the meanwhile, if during the presentation you have questions, go right ahead and type them into the questions panel of your GoToWebinar control box. You just expand that and you type them in, and we will respond to all those we can. And those we can't, we're going to be able to send you an email with all of the questions and responses after the fact. Okay, so shall we go ahead and get started with the housekeeping rules? This session is scheduled to last 45 minutes. All of our participants are muted. It's being recorded, will be sent to you via email. Again, I've already mentioned the question and answer box. Please type your questions in as they occur to you, and we'll email back any questions we don't have time to address in the session. All right, Tina, we're getting started now. So I wanted to just kind of replay what's led us to today, that even before the pandemic hit, there was a rise in the number of applications that lawyers are using for matter work for both internal and external collaboration. These include traditional DMS systems, Microsoft Teams, SharePoint, all of the extraness that we've set up for clients or clients have set up for us, and all other kinds of file sharing applications. That only increased due to the remote and hybrid work that we've arrived at today. and because of the client's own collaboration requirements that we have to meet. So many of these tools are outside of the traditional DMS. They don't work the way the lawyers work. And so inconsistencies in the way that those applications store data or even handle security become challenging for law firms to manage. And that is essentially the core and essence of our session today. So,
go ahead.
So what do you think the effect of this has been across law firms, Tina, in general terms?
Yeah, we've seen a lot of data sprawl. So we have, there's been some studies that show that, over 40% of knowledge workers use more than 3 or more collaboration systems. And, we've seen data in the cloud grow and grow and grow over the last 5-10 years, and it's only projected to continue to grow. There's one study that showed that it was predicted to grow in 2024 to 163 billion terabytes, and with 80% of that being unstructured data. If we look at some of the information on the left side of this slide too, is that it's really resulted in a lot of privacy and security risks, because as more lawyers are using these file sharing applications and extranets and Microsoft Teams and SharePoint and other systems, it's difficult to manage those, but it's also difficult to secure them. So that leads to some privacy and security risks as well.
So in terms of productivity, I can't even imagine how not only the lawyers, but certainly even the IT teams, how I feel like they're either having to focus on that or they can focus on their work, because that just seems like such a a very inefficient way to achieve what we need to with the client.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big challenges in firms too, is that you have so many different applications and everyone's clicking all over the place. And if you think about how many times you click through applications back and forth between browser tabs, between Teams, between the DMS, between email, you're clicking around so many times during the day that the more that you can kind of consolidate the user experience into, say, a single application like a Microsoft Teams, not only can you improve the productivities because they're not jumping around so many times, but you can also improve all of your security and privacy initiatives within the firm by keeping things into a single place. And also we talk about how you have, some of these applications weren't designed to work the way lawyers work. So what having a system in place that can kind of make it work like lawyers work will also help the firm keep maintaining their security policies across content.
Tina, as you were talking about that jumping all around, it reminded me of the HBR article that talks all about that toggle tax. And again, it isn't even just learning the applications and how they work. It's really that even when they learn them, they do have to move from place to place to place to just get the effort done on behalf of the client or working alongside the client. So what about compliance? How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, that's also an interesting topic, because when data is sprawled all over the place, it's hard to maintain not only the privacy and security, which we talked about, but what happens to that content when the matter's concluded? Is it archived? Is it deleted? What happens to it? If there was security lists or access control lists associated with that content, what happens to that at that point? Some data can sit around and be stale, and it just provides a risk to the firm to have data stored in multiple locations where you don't know and can't keep track of it and can't control it.
Again, these are really 4 big challenges, 4 big buckets that we need to work to address with our audience today. Yeah. So let's move on to the double-edged sword.
Yeah, so with all of that, so you have data sprawl everywhere, and the knee-jerk reaction is let's just lock everything down, and that is promotes a challenge there because you need to balance what the lawyers need to do their work versus what IT and security and risk need to do to maintain that security across all the content. I mean, if you look at law firms hold a lot of sensitive client data, and the challenge is managing that access, but it's also balancing it. What do my knowledge workers need? What do my lawyers need versus what can I secure? If I secure everything, then lawyers can't reuse content and get what they need from those content collaboration systems. So it's really that displays a real challenge for firms. And if you don't have automated tools that allow you to manage all of that together, which is one of the reasons we're here today to talk about this, is that it becomes increasingly difficult.
You know, I have seen some firms permit, if that's the right word, it's almost more like they haven't set those lockdown controls, right? But I've seen them permit individuals within a practice group to make teams and to make, to set up those collaboration spaces, because distributing the work, again, that inconsistency and security and, having no automation to do that, it just means that it sort of gets wild really fast.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So in talking a little bit about what Latera can offer, Latera's CAM allows the firm to provision and manage and administer secure content across multiple collaboration systems. So being able to have one platform that can kind of maintain all of that security and provisioning and compliance across multiple systems gives at least security the risk team and the IT teams that sort of safety net, so that they have one place to go, they can manage it all from that place, and you can maintain the rules that are supposed to be followed for providing that security. Today, we're going to focus on, this is our CAM licensing, but we're going to focus basically on one main tier here, which is our Protect tier, and we're going to talk a little bit about access management or advanced access management. So with CAM, you can see all of your Matter content in one place, and then you can manage the Matter team, so the people that are officially on the Matter who need access to the content consistently. You can add users or groups. You can give them the role on the Matter, the appropriate role, based on their role in the Matter, and then you can tell them what content they have access to. So in this case, we have iManage and SharePoint. But it also provides flexibility to add what we call explicit users, or users that don't need access to everything, users that may only be working on one aspect of the Matter. So I can grab a user, assign them a role on the Matter, and give them access, say in this case, just the document management system, and not the Microsoft team. If the firm permits external collaboration, external access into your Microsoft team, you can add, say, a client, give them access to the Microsoft team, give them access to, based on a role, and then they have exactly the level of access they need in order to do work and collaborate with the lawyers.
Thank you, Tina. So this is what we want to share with our audience today as well, is that back in September, Latera conducted a survey on the current state of data security, and we're going to share some of those results today. It focused on understanding data access, compliance, and the measures that folks are taking also with cybersecurity. There were 133 professionals who participated in our survey, with roles as diverse as the IT users to the C-suite, and from regions across the world, United States, the UK, and Australia. Our participants had organizational background that they work in the AmLaw 100, 200, the National Law Journal, the Global 500, the UK rankings, and the Fortune 1000. So certainly we also got a diverse, not just diverse roles, but diverse participants who are working in, the large ecosystem of legal. So Tina, tell us what did the survey say? What did the survey say?
Yeah. All right, so we won't show every question that we asked, but we picked out a couple that we thought were pretty interesting. So one is, how does your law firm currently manage access to documents across collaboration systems? And the responses included: access is granted based on a job role or seniority, access is granted to all users by default, other, or access is granted on an as-needed basis. Now, you'll see that most firms that responded, over 50% of the firms said that access is granted on an as-needed basis, which is frankly a lot higher than I would have expected. Coming from a law firm background, I know that traditionally you keep all of your content available to most users for exactly the reasons I stated before, so that lawyers can reuse content, that knowledge can be shared across different practices and different groups and different matter teams. The access being granted based on job role or security, this is exactly the type of thing we're talking about here, is that if I'm the responsible or billing lawyer, I want to be able to have administrative access to the matter. But if I'm an associate, a paralegal, or just another partner on the matter, I don't need administrative access. So you can grant access to the matter based on their role on the matter. Access granted to all users by default. Sadly, 16% of firms still do that. And it's something that when you're looking at securing content, having an open door policy like that can present some risk and challenges. Another question that was asked was how your law firm ensures that only authorized personnel have access to sensitive client information in Microsoft Teams. So the responses included channel access restrictions, doesn't apply, guest access controls, and role-based access controls. So again, a lot of firms selected all of the above, so 36%. It's terrific that 21% are applying channel access restrictions, because that's a really great way to make sure that you segment out, say, external users or users that don't need access to everything within the Microsoft team. You can put everything in private channels. There's still 22% that where this didn't apply. So the assumption here is that that they're still not using Microsoft Teams. So right. Interesting results.
Very. I think this is where the traditional DMSs and the ethical walls have protected all of this in the past. And so now that we have this collaboration system that has had this meteoric adoption, it is really a concern to focus on.
Yep, absolutely. So what I'm going to show you is a couple little videos of how users can request access to teams or create teams, and how you can apply those matter teams to the Microsoft team. So in this case, I'm creating a new team for a matter that already exists. And when I go to add security, I have the option to force it to pull in all of those project team members. So anybody who's a member of the project team can get access to the matter. And again, based on the role in the matter, like who's the responsible lawyer, who's the paralegal. We have, in this case, we have private channels, and I can say I can add all my internal users to private channels. I can add some and remove others, or I can even change their role on that private channel, so I can give somebody administrative access to that channel so that they can continue to add users. All of our workflows can have an approval process or not, depending upon who the user is that is accessing that. Now, once the team is created, so I have my project team who's added to the team. What if I need access? What if the partner walked down the hallway and said, hey, Tina, I need you to do some work on this? I can request access just by simply putting in a client matter, it shows me the team, and then it can go through, again, an approval process. So once I request access, then somebody that has access to the team, say maybe the responsible lawyer, maybe even the paralegal, is responsible for managing the team members on that particular matter and can approve my access.
So now that we've talked about the ways to set up matter teams, one of the additional considerations is that legal teams often have, differing workflow, collaboration requirements based on the matter at hand. As a result, all of these repositories and collaboration systems, it's inevitable that there's going to be like a sprawl of the tools that they use. IT and governance teams have to appropriately manage this reality on an ongoing basis. And there is a specific area that our firms are asking us lots of questions about. So diligently administering changes in challenges with departing employees. When an employee departs, we need to secure the data that they've been working on. We need to remove access when there are personnel changes. So someone moves from one legal team to another. And what we need to do is to shut down their access to that matter. So law firms really do struggle with the potential of security lapses when there are personnel changes, when there are departing employees. And so, Tina, we posed specific questions about this in our survey. What did we learn from our respondents on this topic?
Yeah, it's again kind of interesting how law firms handle departing employees. So the responses were disable the user account, which everybody should be doing, removing the user from all content, access control lists, and removing users from all existing group membership. And then there was an all of the above or none of the above. Unfortunately, only 1% did a none of the above. And a lot of 77% of the firms are doing all. And this is again, a really enlightening response to this, because it really shows that law firms are taking security seriously and they're doing the right things. It's not enough to just disable a user. If a user still is on an access control list for a document, if the user is still a member of a particular group, without removing that user from the group or removing that user from the access control list, if someone that has administrative rights re-enables that user, then they have access to everything that user has, and it's difficult to trace who accessed that content, because it would, they could log in as that other user. And I know there's other security measures in place like SSO and some other things, but even still, there's always an end run around to get to something that you're not supposed to have. So the other thing is, if someone accidentally gets access into your system as an old user, you want to make sure that they're not able to get to that content. Another question we asked was how your law firm ensures that data access controls are maintained when personnel changes occur. So again, the responses included automated access management tools, employee exit process, regular access reviews, all of the above or doesn't apply. And again, all of the above, over 40%. Regular access reviews, only 25% of firms responded that they're doing regular access reviews. This is something, again, that providing a tool that can give you reports on security that you can review, make sure that disabled users are not still on access control lists, and also on the employee exit process, making sure you have those processes in place to say, okay, these are the checklist of activities that we need to disable the user, we need to remove the user from a matter, et cetera. Again, having a tool or a platform that can help do that, where if the user is disabled in your Active Directory, that it gets disabled across the board, or it's removed from all the groups, or that user is removed from all the access control lists, is important. And also, if you're just changing personnel, user goes from one practice group to another, you want to make sure that user is removed from the right group and added to the right group.
And this would need to happen across all of these systems, right?
Yeah.
It would have to happen across all of them.
Yep.
Okay.
So roles change frequently. What about access updates? We talked a little bit about this, where if a user is removed from one group in Active Directory and added to another group, that those changes flow downstream to the document management system, into the teams, into other applications. You also want to make sure that you remove user access when it's no longer necessary, that you recertify access. So making sure that the appropriate people have the appropriate level of access, and then limiting the access on a as needed basis. So with advanced access management and CAM, as we saw, we can build the Matter team, and that Matter team can then have access, but you can still add additional users for temporarily. So if they need access for a period of time, you can add a user to have access to, say, the workspace to do a certain amount of work, and then that user can be then removed. With CAM Analytics, you can run queries and find users that maybe still have access. So in this case, I ran a query and I found that Alexa she was disabled, she's no longer with the firm, but she still had access to 4 workspaces. So what I can do is remove her access from this. So I ran a query, I found Alexa had access. I can now run a process to remove her access from those workspaces. That will trickle down to all of the documents within that workspace as well.
So in terms of these complexities, frankly, already my head is swimming. But law firms really do face very unique and frankly heightened risks from other organizations, and legal teams within corporations do as well, because there are so many challenges that are associated to protecting the data and to managing the compliance of that data. Especially, Tina, our firms are working across multinational jurisdictions, and some of them have unique requirements that we might not even know about, say, in the US from what's required in the UK. And so we have a training challenge. We have to educate all the personnel. And certainly we need tools that help us protect that. So we're going to begin, of course, talking about that compliance dilemma, where the legal teams must consistently comply with data protection regulations. And that's really hard because it's a continuous evolving kind of, definition. And we also have to work with the situational risk assessment. It considers the risk that's associated with only conducting security assessments when a situation or security event arises, which leaves firms really unprepared for unexpected security threats. We don't just activate when there's a threat or when there's an event. We need to have an ongoing assessment. And then the ad hoc management of data, it refers to all of us managing data deletion requests only on a need-to-know basis, highlighting the absence of a structured lifecycle management plan and approach. Everything from data provisioning to archival or deletion. We really need something that's structured, so we're not just doing these ad hoc. So Tina, I know these were questions we posed in our survey. What did our respondents share with us about that?
Yeah. So this is how does your law firm ensure compliance with data protection regulations such as GDPR or CCPA? The responses included data management and classification, employee training and education, regular compliance audits, all of the above, and doesn't apply. The doesn't apply, I guess the assumption is that there are firms that are working in one singular location, so some of the kind of GDPR doesn't apply. A lot of firms responded that they're doing all of the above. Data mapping and classification, this was, as firms that are doing only this, this is relatively low. And again, this is where a product like CAM can come in. and regular compliance audits. Most of these firms that are under GDPR are required to perform regular audits on compliance practices and data security practices. So I would expect that all of the above respondents kind of are within that as well. So CAM allows you to collect metadata on not just matters, but clients, your users, your groups, and it's extensible metadata. So the best practice really is to make sure that you're classifying your content correctly. Make sure that you have your practices, that you have a matter location, that you have all of the metadata that you need to appropriately classify your content. So when you're provisioning your workspaces, when you're provisioning your teams, that all of that metadata is held. Now, understanding that Teams and SharePoint don't natively have essentially a workspace profile the way, say, a NetDocuments or an iManage does. But what the layer that CAM can provide is to give you the ability to hold that metadata, store that metadata, so we know what matter a team belongs to. We know what client a SharePoint site belongs to. You don't have to put it in the name of the SharePoint site or the team. We know when we provision it that this particular team or this particular matter is associated with this particular, team or workspace is associated with this particular matter. Additionally, you can use things like matter location to ensure that your GDPR practices are being applied, your regulatory practices are being applied. And I'm going to show you a little video from the CAM service desk where I can search for all workspaces that are in our Frankfurt office, where the matter location is Frankfurt. And I can immediately see that there's one workspace that's public, which it shouldn't be, so that anybody who has access to iManage can see a particular matter. So what I want to do is I want to lock it down. I want to assign the appropriate groups or team members to this particular matter. And I want to make sure that I set the workspace to private so that we can then say that this matter is now, at least it's private and can follow the our GDPR or our regulatory practices. So CAM also provides, we saw a little bit of analytics where you can say do a search for disabled users that still are on security lists for documents or workspaces. So we saw that already, but you can also use CAM to monitor unusual activities. So document downloads or moving files and folders around. You can run reports through to detect some of this behavior. And there's also internal reports from different applications, but CAM aggregates a lot of this information so that you can look at what users are doing. And I just have a couple screenshots here to show you something from CAM dashboards and analytics that allows you to look at the activity by user. I can see how many documents a particular user downloaded. You can set a threshold and then report on that. You can also see, who the top downloaders were month over month or week over week. You can drill into any user and get some information about that user, like, for example, what matters they have access to. You can see also maybe what documents are checked out. So if a user leaves, it's not just about removing their accounts or disabling their access and removing their accounts from certain access, but you can do things like checking all their checked out documents if they have a lot of documents checked out. So you can do some regular administration around CAM or your document management system through CAM. We can also kind of show what users can and can't, or what they're not doing. So in terms of, say, a user who is, especially with remote and hybrid work, we want to make sure that, we don't want to be Big Brother and monitor every little thing that a user is doing. At least I wouldn't want that, but you can at least say, I know this user billed X number of hours this month on this matter, but this user didn't really create any content. They didn't create any team or documents in Teams or SharePoint. They didn't create any or edit any documents in iManage or NetDocuments. So at least running reports like that can kind of help you to monitor the activity that your users are doing across these different applications. And CAM aggregates a lot of that data. I mean, it doesn't aggregate data from everywhere, but as we start incorporating more and more systems into CAM, we'll be able to then really provide that unified report of where all the content is and what activity the user is taking. And just kind of circling back toward to CAM again, we've seen just a couple snippets of some of the how CAM can help with some of these challenges for security and compliance and auditing. But just to reiterate the layer of licensing that can be available from provisioning through managing through service desk. So provisioning will allow you to provision workspaces and sites and Microsoft Teams across these different applications, NetDocuments, iManage, SharePoint. You can use it to manage content, giving non-administrative users the ability to do some administrative tasks, but keeping control over that. So allowing users to do, help desk users to take certain actions without giving them direct administrative rights to those underlying systems. Being able to move content back and forth between iManage and Teams and iManage, or NetDocuments and Teams, or SharePoint and iManage. Being able to have that movement of data back and forth to help foster that collaboration with clients and third parties, and even internal collaboration where you want to, again, move all of your content into, or a lot of your applications into one central location like a Microsoft team, so that all of your users don't have to be clicking all over the place. I don't have to go to iManage here, NetDocuments there, or Teams here. I can pull it all into, say, a Microsoft team, and they can work just out of Teams. Analyzing the data, we showed some reports that you can run, some queries you can run that can help maintain and give you insight and visibility into the actions of the users and into the data itself. Protecting with advanced access management, being able to create matter teams and then apply those teams across all of the content where that matter lives. And then compliance, being able to delete and remove that content at the end of the day once the matter is concluded. So I think with that, we take some questions.
Yeah, so there is a question that's come up kind of in the session today, and one of them, Tina, is can you share a little bit about how firms are organized around management of the functionality of CAM? So do they have an InfoSec team that does all of this? Do they have embedded people within the legal team, or is it, as a new survey, all of the above? How do you see folks take CAM and organize around its use?
Yeah, so great question, and it's a little bit of all of the above. So typically it's purchased in the IT organization, but it can be utilized across multiple cross-functional areas within the firm. So help desk can use it, the service desk aspect, to do some administrative tasks, unlocking documents, checking in remote documents that have been checked out for too long, doing bulk updates, running reports. There's the provisioning is usually done by the DMS team or the teams that are dealing with automated workspace creation processes. You have InfoSec that will go into analytics and run reports and audits that they can maintain their security processes across all of these different applications. We have some records folks that do some work in our application, and at the end user level, there are certain aspects like request workflows. So requesting access to a team or a SharePoint site or a workspace. Granting access, creating a team. Also, there are some folder management pieces that end users have the ability to do, so you can control the structure of your workspaces. So in iManage, if you wanted to limit the number of folders that are created when a workspace is created, but give the ability for the user to create workspaces on demand. So there's some applications that are commands that are available to the end users. And they also have the ability to do things like edit a folder or edit the name of something, but again, without giving them ownership or direct access to kind of the back end.
All right, we have another question from the audience. How long did it take for Cam to perform the task correctly? While her organization hasn't used Cam to the extent we've shown today, Tina, she just has, interest in knowing if the experience is improved and so forth.
So that another great question. Cam is a cloud application, and it connects two applications using what we call REST APIs or cloud-based APIs. iManage in the cloud is in the cloud now. NetDocuments is in the cloud. Microsoft Teams is in the cloud. And Cam, in many respects, is at the mercy of the performance of those underlying application protocols. So if you have, for example, a Microsoft team, say you have a team that you're creating and the team has, 10 channels and 40 folders and OneNotes and planners and some other things, it can take a long time. And even in the Microsoft documentation, Microsoft says if you're creating a complex team, it could take, it can take 15 minutes to 24 hours, I think they give you. We've never seen it take that long. So a lot of the actions that we take, bulk updates, reporting, actually not the reporting is more our APIs, but the bulk updates, the provisioning, all of that really were kind of dependent upon the performance of the underlying APIs that we're connecting to. So the iManage APIs, the NetDocs APIs, the Microsoft Graph APIs. So that long-winded answer to a question, but essentially that's how that works.
It actually tees up one of the pre-submitted questions, which is, essentially how do the analytics work? So yeah. In some ways you've answered part of that, but is there anything more to share on that topic?
Yeah, so analytics has been kind of my my kind of pet project over the past 6 months. We're in the process of revamping it, and pretty soon we'll be showing, being able to release a new report builder for analytics. But analytics was designed to pull all of the data that's in these systems, in iManage, NetDocuments, Teams, SharePoint, into a cloud data warehouse. The benefit of doing that is that it's sitting in a CAM data warehouse, and the performance is a lot faster. So we can get data a lot quicker, so you can run reports. But if you're still talking about running a query against 100 million documents or 200 million documents, there's going to be some performance expense there. But we're building in some ability to say, well, hey, this is going to be a long-running query. We'll email you when it's completed. And we're putting in some new features to help improve performance, improve that syncing performance. Again, we're pulling data as fast as we can pull it, and even when data gets updated on a day-to-day basis, getting that incremental or those delta changes into the data warehouse. So analytics is something that we've just released something new. We're going to be improving this even more over the next 3 to 4 months. So I expect that this will be, and then pulling in, again, all of the data, aggregating it all with the Teams data and the SharePoint data. And again, as we start building integrations with other applications, being able to pull that all together in one place will really help firms, adhere to some of these policies.
Thank you. So one of the other pre-submitted questions was, would CAM alert us to potential security risks, like excessive file downloads, unauthorized movement of files? How does that all happen, and who gets alerted?
Yeah. So today we don't have automated alerts based on like real-time activity. So this is one of the things that we're trying to improve over the next year. But you can certainly go into a report or get an email sent to you every day or every hour to let you know who's been downloading files. It's not a real-time alert today, but that's something that is in our roadmap.
Okay, great. Would CAM help my organization maintain its compliance standards? And if yes, how does that work?
So today what CAM does is, because again, CAM holds all of the underlying metadata for all of the matters, we can tell, if as long as you apply, say, a matter close date or some trigger in the metadata to help us understand when matters should be closed, when they should be archived, when they should be locked down. So CAM has a workflow that says if a matter's been closed for X number of days, we can lock it down. So you can give your users 90 days to get everything filed, and then you lock it down so that they can't change anything. We also have legal holds that will allow you to apply legal holds if things need to be held. You can either lock everything down in place, you can have rolling holds, you can also export content out. So CAM has a lot of features that help with some of these compliance processes and standards.
Okay. Wonderful. Tina, honestly, thank you so much for sharing all of this great information. I can't believe it. We are at time, actually.
Oh, wow.
So I know, so much good to share. Let's move on to this next slide, because I want to make sure our audience knows how to get the report, how to get the survey. Results. Yeah. So check your inbox, everyone who's registered. Make sure that you look out for this report. It's free research that we've administered, and it's heading your way. Thank you so much for registering for the webinar and for attending. And oh my goodness, Tina, for sharing all of these great insights. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you, Sherry, for helping out today and providing all your valuable insights.
Yeah, so again, thank you all. Let us know if you have additional questions. Would like to see CAM, and look out for that report.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.